Earth is full of hidden mysteries that humans have barely scratched the surface of. One of these mysteries is the icy land of Antarctica. But what happens when all the ice melts? What kind of secrets do the sub-zero regions of Antarctica hold? The region's icy and harsh conditions have kept humanity from diving too deep. Everything that we've discovered so far has been a combination of fascinating and absolutely terrifying. From incredible creatures to never-before-seen phenomena, Antarctica is a land full of possibilities, and all you need to do is look beneath all the frozen water. Join us today as we take you through 15 terrifying things discovered in Antarctica that changed everything. And stay tuned till the end to see some pretty exciting stuff. Number 15. Underground lakes. Anyone who has the slightest bit of knowledge about geography knows that the lakes and oceans are two completely different kinds of bodies of water. But the Antarctic Ocean doesn't play by the rules. In 1970, scientists had a hunch that an entirely different ecosystem existed in the Antarctic waters, something that hadn't ever been seen before. Antarctic waters hold entire lakes inside of them, an estimated 400 lakes in fact. These lakes sit under 3 kilometers of ice, and scientists believe that they were formed during the separation of Antarctica from the ancient supercontinent Gondwanaland. And the reason why the lakes remain flowing instead of freezing in the sub-zero Antarctic oceans is because of the underwater pressure. Lake Vostok was the first of its kind, discovered in the 1990s. It's also the largest subglacial lake ever found in the region, lying 2.5 kilometers below the ice. Scientists extracted a sample of the lake water. Its temperature was found to be -3 degrees, while being covered by ice for over 20 million years. However, the most significant breakthrough came in 2014 at Lake Whillans, when scientists discovered lakes and entire ecosystems consisting of microorganisms and other signs of life that exist within these lakes. And what's terrifying is that these species haven't been exposed to sunlight for millions of years, yet they still exist and grow using methane and ammonium as their energy sources. This also means that there are high possibilities of an entire system of lakes, estuaries, rivers, and even volcanoes existing under the Antarctic waters. However, studying them is challenging, considering how hard it is for scientists to look beneath all that frozen water. However, never say never, right? Number 14. Rainforests and fossils. Speaking of signs of life, the Antarctic region is also home to rainforests. Considering the place's climate, it's pretty hard to imagine any signs of tropical trees and creatures living there, let alone flourishing and thriving, but it is possible. The truth is that before Antarctica became a frozen desert following the Ice Age, it was actually a warm tropical region with rainforests upon rainforests, and some also believe that it had entire civilizations living in this warm region. Still though, all of that ended when the ice covered the land. This is a popular theory because scientists have discovered several samples of fossilized wood, tropical trees, and leaf impressions that prove the existence of rainforests in the region. Not only that, but scientists have also found tons of fossils from marine animals, birds, and even dinosaurs from the Cretaceous period. And that could only have been possible if the land had once been warm. Plus, if there are any other signs to be proven, the region is also scattered with fossils of a beetle species that lived around 20 million years ago. And after research, it's been discovered that the insects could have only existed in a warm climate. All of these fossils and discoveries have humans wondering whether or not Antarctica might hide actual rainforests within its depths. And if it is, we wonder what kind of new creatures, and maybe even civilizations, live there. Number 13. Singing ice. Now, it's not surprising to discover ice in Antarctica, but singing ice? What does it even mean? When researchers set out to study the ice shift in Antarctica, they were surprised to come across a singing glacier. That's right, an entire Ross Ice Shelf is always making music. Known to be the most enormous shelf in Antarctica, about the total size of France, the Ross Ice Shelf makes an eerie sound, one that's almost like a melody because of the winds blowing across the snow dunes. The winds crash against the dune surface and create vibrations that produce non-stop seismic tones, so the shelf is always singing. And while the sounds aren't audible to human ears, scientists have used seismic sensors to listen to the tunes. They describe them as extremely sad and melancholic for some reason, which makes it so terrifying. The song would be discovered by accident when researchers used seismic sensors to look into other behaviors of the ice slab. But since then, they've found that as the environment changes, the song changes as well. So now they use the song to monitor the ice shelf stability and vulnerability while tracking any collapse when the music turns into a hum. This has left them thinking whether or not one day glaciers might also start singing songs that can be heard by human ears. Number 12. Ice holes. In 2017, the world witnessed a hole the size of Ireland opening up in Antarctica. Known as the Paulownia, the hole spans 78,000 kilometers and is the largest hole to have opened up in the region since the 1970s. The hole was formed because of the warm, salty water in deeper parts of the sea. These holes are scientifically known as cryoconite holes, which means that they're made up of ice and dust. These holes consist of rock particles and even tiny microbes. They tend to absorb heat from the sunlight, which causes the ice beneath them to melt, and then that results in the formation of holes that make it look like the land is collapsing onto itself. According to scientists, these holes might be a combination of the unusual ocean conditions and the weather in Antarctica, combined with intense storms that usually occur in the region with hurricane-like winds. The hole then forms as the wind pushes all the ice to the side with an intense force. The truth is that these are actually more severe than they look. They contain extreme amounts of water vapor, a potent greenhouse gas that warms up the sea and intensifies the cyclones that are to follow. And with predictions of these offshore holes becoming more and more common with climate change, the thought of what kind of disasters they may bring is genuinely terrible. Scientists are still determining what else these holes do, but we all know that they get filled with water that can support life for cold-adapted microorganisms in the summer. Number 11. Mount Erebus. Most people find it hard to believe that Antarctica is home to tons of volcanoes. After all, the region is entirely covered by ice, and it can't possibly be a region where molten lava erupts, right? Well, wrong. Ross Island is home to 4 different volcanoes. While 3 of them are inactive, the 4th one is called Mount Erebus, and it's increased in volcanic activity within the last 30 years, causing scientists to believe that the return might also be capable of further volcanic activity. As far as Mount Erebus is concerned, the volcano is full of liquid magma and ancient lava lakes that have been boiling for around 1.3 million years. Mount Erebus is one of the world's most mysterious wonders, and it's also one of the most active volcanoes that scientists have ever discovered in the Antarctic region, towering up to 3,800 meters high. However, that's just about all that we know about the nature of this volcano because of the fact that it's located in a highly remote and dangerous region where weather conditions are unpredictable. Even then, a group of scientists climbed the peak in 2013 and then found organisms living inside the volcano's heat. Not only that, but they also discovered quite a lot of ice caves with microorganisms growing in the soil. And these creatures are considered some of the most unique discoveries ever made in the Antarctic region. Number 10. World's oldest pyramids. Now, it's hard to imagine pyramids being discovered anywhere except in Egypt's warm region where the pharaohs lived and ruled. But what if I told you that Antarctica was also once home to a civilization that built and lived in pyramids to survive the region's environment? Mainstream geologists have never really understood how life could actually thrive in the extremeness of Antarctica, but this discovery might be the answer to it all. In 2016, scientists captured satellite imagery of the region that showed a strange formation peering out of the ice. And while the region was extremely remote and dangerous to reach, they believe that this was a sign of a man-made pyramid in Antarctica. The structures looked almost like the ones in Egypt, but the truth is that the Antarctic Pyramid is much larger than the Great Pyramid of Egypt. The only reason that they're not talked about as much is that scientists have never been able to reach them. This opens up the possibility of ancient human ancestors living and growing in the Antarctic continent at some point, and some researchers also believe that the entire civilization lived in Antarctica once. Still though, all of their signs of existence are now buried under the snow, and let's face it, it's pretty easy to believe with all the evidence. However, some geologists actually believe that because this pyramid-like structure is located on the Ellsworth mountain range, it is the range's peak. What story do you believe? I'll leave it up to you in the comments below. Number 9. Ancient meteorites. Humans weren't the only civilizations thriving in Antarctica back in the day. Scientists have actually found overwhelming evidence of alien life that existed in the region. But how can this be said? Well, because of the insane amounts of meteorite showers that the place has received, it seems like intergalactic beings love that side of the world. While you can find meteorites falling all over the Earth, the number of them is insane in Antarctica. The first meteorite in Antarctica was discovered all the way back in 1912, and ever since, scientists have found several meteorite-rich regions all over Antarctica. It could be because of the region's cold, dry conditions that preserve the rocky fragments better, but still, the meteorites are also easier to spot on miles and miles of ice. The East Antarctic, in particular, is known for having the entire top layers of its land covered with vast concentrations of meteorites that have been part of the land for billions of years. More than 20,000 samples have been collected, and the number is only increasing. The largest meteorite ever discovered has also been found in Antarctica, weighing 18 kilograms. Not only that, but researchers have also found a piece of Mars in the region, showing that it's definitely a magnet for intergalactic activity, and there's really no other explanation. Number 8. Antarctic fungi. Tons of microorganisms have been discovered in Antarctica, including an endemic species of fungi that usually flourishes in warm climates, but somehow they've also managed to thrive in the cold winters of Antarctica. These fungi feed on wood and are all over the wooden huts where the first explorers once lived. They are a highly evolved species that have adapted to the harsh environments of the region, which might be why they're some of the most unique creatures on the planet. Moreover, another type of fungi has been growing in the region, and it feeds on petroleum containers that were abandoned by the explorers. Once again, it's an evolutionary trait that's found in the fungi that only exist in the Antarctic area and nowhere else. Today, scientists are trying to figure out if these petroleum-eating fungi can help us to clean large oil spills worldwide, and just imagine how fascinating that would be. Number 7. The Forbidden Sector. Not a lot of people actually know this fact, but Antarctica has a forbidden sector where no one is allowed to step, except for authorized individuals, of course. Think of this as the Area 51 of the region, and no one knows what's actually taking place there, leading everyone to believe that scientists are hiding some secrets. Even if you try to take a peek and see what lies beyond that border, you are immediately seized by the guards and then taken inside, and no one has ever been able to find out what happens after that. Officials say that the region is protected because it's the only site where the emperor penguins are found. No humans are allowed inside to ensure that no harm comes to their colonies. But who's to say that's the only thing that's going on in this protected region? Number 6. Third man factor. The third man factor isn't restricted to Antarctica. It's a phenomenon that you can experience anywhere. But explorers have reported extremely strong experiences of the third man factor in Antarctic regions. The third man factor means that you feel the overwhelming presence of someone in times of distress, with the figure often guiding you when you're lost and making you feel safe. Because of Antarctica's harsh conditions and unusual hours of sunlight and darkness, tons of people experience hallucinations in the area, which might be what causes that third man factor. Explorers have reported instances where they can see shadows that have been cast by nothing across the region's infinite plains. Ernest Shackleton was an explorer whose entire group experienced the phenomenon in the area during their travels, but that was only the beginning. Shackleton's tale goes a little like this. He and his companions were trying to travel to South Georgia Island by boat. After a tiring journey, they attempted to trek across a whaling station in search of some food and shelter, but while they were trekking, the entire group, which consisted of 3 people, believed that another mysterious presence was actually walking alongside them. The group walked for 36 hours over mountains and glaciers, and all of them believed that there were 4 and not just 3. Since then, tons of people who have been stranded or struggling to find their destination in Antarctica have reported feeling the presence guiding them along the right path, and it could be something about the depression of the situation, but still, it could have something to do with the Antarctic region itself. Number 4. Broken compasses. For some strange reason, compasses never seem to function properly at the North Pole. The scientific explanation is that the North Pole is highly magnetic and messes with the compass's magnetic field. But why does that occur? It's primarily because the Earth's magnetic fields curve around the planet's spherical shape, which means that compasses will never be reliable there. And while scientists do know this today and take preventative measures to avoid getting lost or confused while traveling in the region, the first explorers had no idea that this was a thing. So, the many dead bodies found in the area could also be people who had lost their way and never found it back. At the same time, some conspiracy theorists actually believe that the compass story is a plot to get people to stay away from some areas of the continent where unspeakable mysteries are being hidden. And not just compasses, but modern technology like GPS systems also fail to function properly at the Earth's North Pole, since they as well are impacted by the planet's magnetic field. The reason why this happens is that, essentially, a GPS also needs a compass to function, and when that compass stops working, so does the GPS. Could there actually be some truth to all of these conspiracy theories, and what do you think? Number 3. Blood Falls. On the list of the creepiest things that have been discovered in Antarctica, this one is definitely in the top 3. Imagine finding a river of blood in the middle of pure white snow. That's a sight that could freak out anyone. Located in the McMurdo Drive Valley, you have a deep red waterfall that looks like it's pouring blood. The waterfall is 5 stories high and seems like a gush of blood coming out of Taylor Glacier onto Lake Bonny. And for a while, scientists didn't actually know what this strange blood-like liquid was. However, today, they have discovered that this water looks so deadly because Blood Falls was once a very salty lake that is now cut off from the atmosphere because of ice formations. As a result, the water has become saltier over time, and because of that salt content, it just can't freeze. The water is also extremely rich in iron, which gives it its color, and it gets no oxygen or sunlight, and that's why it's turned to a dark red color that can only be seen by a helicopter or cruise ships that visit the Ross Sea. Number 2. UFO sightings. As discussed before, the region of Antarctica is rich in alien activity. In addition to the meteor showers, scientists have discovered numerous spacecraft that don't look anything like what's produced on Earth. Of course, these regions are once again remote and hard to find, so through satellite imagery, researchers have found formations and markings that are proof of extraterrestrial activity in the region. There are no concrete explanations for these signs of crashed aircraft and dozens of yearly UFO sightings people experience in the region. UFO hunters worldwide do believe that Antarctica is the perfect location for aliens to form their home base on Earth because of its inaccessibility to human beings, and well, there may be plenty of evidence to prove their claims. Number 1. A world underwater. Atlantis is a mystery that humans have been trying to uncover for quite a long time, and it looks like our answers might actually lie in the icy cold depths of Antarctica. Atlantis is a city that's said to have fallen underwater, never to be seen again. However, some people believe that we have never found evidence of Atlantis because the city is actually buried and frozen under the Antarctic ice. Not only that, but there are also evidences to say that Hitler had used Antarctic waters to form an underground base for himself and the Nazis because no one could possibly reach them there. I say this because in the late 1930s, the Nazis had showed interest in visiting Antarctica. They were sent on an expedition to search the area and claim a part of it for Germany. And while the claim never happened, that hasn't stopped people from thinking that the Nazis might have utilized the land much differently. What do you think of these terrifying things being discovered in Antarctica? And which one scared you the most? Be sure to tell us all about it in the comments down below.